And we are here in week 2. And this kind of ties in with what we do in the operating room. Okay. We have a video this evening, but we are working on communication and teamwork. Okay. We do have our quote of the week, which is change can be scary. But you know what's scarier? Allowing fear to stop you from growing, evolving, and progressing. In our field, change is going to be constant. There's new techniques, there's new technologies, which comes with new challenges. It is so easy to feel overwhelmed, but letting fear stop you means missing out on the growth that comes with adapting. Every change is an opportunity to evolve into something stronger, more capable, professional. So, as we start our surgical technology journey, I want you to embrace the change because it is the key to your progress and success. Now, why study communication? Okay, now, effective communication in the surgical setting is important for one, patient safety and teamwork. It requires skills and practice, as it's not always easy. It's not always easy to tell someone, hey, I'm not really feeling how you're doing this or that. Good communication helps meet patients' physical and emotional needs. Remember, a lot of times these patients are on their worst day, and you're going to hear me say that in and out. We are their advocate. Now, good communication helps meet patients' physical and emotional needs, while clear communication amongst coworkers ensures safety and efficiency. It enables team members to kind of set priorities, resolve their issues, and maintain professional boundaries. Poor communication can lead to errors, instruments left in bodies, conflict, stress, which affects both patient care and the work environment. So today we have to just talk about elements of communication, body language, qualities of good communication. We have a clip from the Lord of the Rings that's going to break it down for us. And then we do have to talk about barriers to communication. Now, again, in our setting, clear communication between the surgical team is critical, right? When a team member, the sender, gives a directive or information, the other team members, which become the receivers, they have to understand and respond accurately. Sometimes, when the sender intends to communicate, it might not be received as expected. Now, that can lead to confusion, mistakes, and delays in the procedure, especially when you're asking for, let's say, a suture or a certain type of medication. Now, you have to be aware of your audience, whether it's the surgeon, another scrub tech, other members of the team. Okay, for example, using clear, precise language and confirming your understanding kind of through a feedback is where you can repeat the instructions. So you're asking your nurse for 0.25% lidocaine. The nurse repeats 0.25% lidocaine. They pour the 0.25% lidocaine. You see it 0.25% lidocaine. You're writing 0.25% lidocaine, and then you're drawing it up. Okay? Everyone communicated. Effective communication ensures that everyone is on that same page. It's helping to maintain a smooth, safe, and efficient surgical environment. Now, we know that we're here for the patient. Surgical technologists, sometimes we communicate with patients, sometimes we're communicating with families and coworkers, and everything is to just ensure some type of safety and some type of success. This involves not only speaking clearly, but also listening and responding accurately. Effective communication requires practice and attention to detail. That way, everyone is informed and the patient care is prioritized. There are going to be some doctors that you're going to be thinking they're whispering to you. And you're going to have to say, I'm sorry, doc, I didn't hear you. Of course, professionally, right? But some doctors have a softer tone. Now, we have to share critical information with the team. like confirming surgical instruments or relaying updates on patient status. Clear, concise communication helps ensure the procedure is going to run smoothly. Sometimes we have to ask for clarification, and that's okay. Confirming the next steps or questioning something that's just not clear. That's going to help prevent errors and ensure everyone is on the same page. Now, while discussions about surgical procedures might happen, it's important to keep them focused and professional. Sometimes we may be talking about what vacation someone went on, all right? But we're still prioritizing patient safety and the team's goals. Healthy debates can lead to better solutions and decision makings. Oftentimes, you may have two lead surgeons in there, and you're like, okay, this lead surgeon is saying this, and then you're paying attention. You're just listening. You're trying to see where we as a team are going to go next for that particular patient. In our setting, you always want to use clear, precise language when communicating with each other. You try to stay away from slang and using casual phrases because not everyone's going to understand, and they can lead to misunderstandings. Use professional terminology, and that's going to keep everyone on the same page, reducing the risk of errors, and biggest thing is enhancing patient safety. The receiver not only interprets the words you say, but also the tone and nonverbal cues that you use. Be mindful of your tone of voice. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It can be calm, it can be firm, or neutral. That way, the message is clear and professional. You also want to pay attention to your body language, your facial expressions. I am that individual that sometimes my face will say what I was trying not to. So I have to work on that because that does impact how your message is received. Clear communication, both verbal and nonverbal, is key to maintaining a safe and effective surgical environment. Now, the chapter gives guidelines for verbal communication. We look at the tone. Again, how are you saying it? How is your pitch? Even if someone doesn't verbally express their true feelings, their body language often reveals their emotions. In the healthcare environment, especially in the operating room, we have to be aware of how we're sitting, how we're standing, because the body language will help us to understand our colleagues and the patients. Okay. Crossing your arms, we're going to do a Kahoot that kind of breaks some of these down. It can indicate defensiveness, discomfort. Eye contact. Are you looking at the individual? That shows that you're paying attention, you're alert, you're being respectful. Lack of eye contact may indicate that you're trying to avoid them, or you're not comfortable in the situation. Sometimes you're fidgeting, you're moving, which can be an indication that you're nervous or you're just impatient. Smiling shows friendliness, you're open, but in some cases it can mask discomfort. Like someone says something inappropriate and you are like, what? Like, you're smiling, but you're like, I know you didn't just say that. You have frustration or authority, having your hands on the hips. Leaning indicates interest and engagement, like in the conversation, like you're looking in, you're like, okay, I'm here what you're saying, doc. What's the next steps? What are we doing today? Understanding both body language helps to ensure that communication is not only clear but also emotionally accurate. So again, here's the table 2-1, just body language that's observed in Western culture, and this is in the textbook, and we are going to have a little bit of fun with this a little bit later. Okay, in healthcare, touch can serve as both a way to offer comfort and show empathy, as well as at times assert control or even establish authority. Therapeutic touch specifically is used intentionally to kind of show that you care. There's some type of tenderness. There's empathy for the patient. Silence, believe it or not, and stillness can communicate various messages as well. It can indicate that a person may be reflecting or processing some information that they just been told. They could be silent into shock, like they don't know what to say, the reaction to unexpected new trauma. Sometimes you can't speak. It can be so emotionally overwhelmed or physically incapacitating to respond. Maybe you just don't want to disagree. You're like, I'm not going to say anything. So you kind of just shut down. You could be concentrating. You could feel tension. In our setting, both silence and stillness can impact team dynamics. So, kind of being aware of these nonverbal cues can really help maintain effective communication and prevent misunderstanding. You guys ready? Let's do a little bit of Kahoot really quick. See if I can get it up and running. I'm going to put the link in the chat so you guys can have it. It's only 4 questions, really quick, nothing crazy. Let's see how you guys can kind of identify some of these cues, nonverbal. Again, if you are driving and you cannot, please do not try to log on. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to see. And I have put the Kahoot link in the chat. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. There are 9, so we'll go ahead and start. Remember, there should only be 4 questions, I think. Yeah, there's only 4 questions. Wow, okay. You guys got fast with that one. 3rd question. And the last question. Good job. All right. So good job. Now, the second half of our live session really kind of gets into breaking down barriers, looking at communication. We already talked about we're going to talk about verbal abuse. We're going to be looking at problem behavior in the workplace. We work in a very stressful environment. I'm going to keep it real, keep it transparent for you guys. Again, just like we talk about it being sometimes the patient's worst day, think about how stressful that is for members in the operating room as well. We have to talk about sexual harassment, and then we're going to watch a quick clip on teamwork. Now, there's a thing called cultural competence. Understanding cultural differences is going to be important because there's going to be times where different cultures will kind of dictate what's going on in the operating room. Almost like with ethics, right? With ethical dilemmas. You have a patient coming in and they, for religious reasons, will not take any type of blood product. So we have to understand these differences. We look at social distance, where the different cultures have varying expectations of just your personal space, respecting boundaries. We have gender values, where specific gender roles that affect communication. Respecting these can really improve teamwork and patient interactions. Cultural awareness just enhances both patient care and teamwork, especially in our diverse healthcare environment. What is the difference between assertiveness and aggression? Does anyone have any ideas on that? Because they sound similar, but they're actually a little bit different. And if you don't know, that's okay. Okay, so I'll break it down. Assertiveness. Assertiveness, you still remain respectful and calm. I like that answer. I do. I like that answer a lot. I'm going to piggyback on that one because that one's good. I want you to also think of the ability to express your own needs and rights while respecting, so I like that respectfulness, the needs and rights of others. Versus aggression, they're coming in like a bulldog. You know, they may be coming in trying to intimidate you. They may come in loud or even have like that bullying persona. So then we look at being able to respect one another. In the operating room, you may have someone who is having a bad day, but that doesn't give them the right to treat you wrong, and vice versa. And that's where feedback can be provided by kind of just making sure that, hey, we're all on the same page. We're here. We're a team. We're in this together because at the end of the day, we're here to protect that patient. Now, bias is big. Bias does not allow for new ideas. Bias is where you're coming in and you're like, oh, I see my team. This is going to be a bad day. Oh, look at the cases that we're doing. And it's just not necessarily solidified for any reason. It's not validated. It's just that's how you feel. Maybe you heard it's the first time you're working with a different team and you have your own idea of how things will go. So that's definitely going to affect how the communication is going to be because you may not be as open. You may not feel like you're in a safe space. When emotions come in and affect communication, it blocks communication through distraction or even in some cases a little bit of prejudice. So, for those of you who are here, there's going to be times where there may be some communication disturbances. I'll say that word. How do you think you can overcome barriers to communication in our already stressful environment? And there are no wrong answers. Take a moment to collect yourself before speaking. You can't probably talk if
What
you're
was
upset.
the question again?
How can you overcome barriers to communication? Respect, I like that. Staying calm and responding. Don't let that become a distractor. Remain calm. Listening.
Be friendly too.
Yes. Treat others as you would want them to be, as you would want to be treated. Definitely be nice. Be calm. Body language. Going in with an open mindset. These are all excellent answers. Yes.
Being a patient listener too, because sometimes like you already have this assumption of what someone's gonna say, and sometimes people can be defensive, and then it just creates this whole dilemma.
Yes. Especially when someone may feel intimidated, right? Like you are just doing you. You're not worried about anybody else. And then next thing you know, there's tension that you literally didn't know was there. So Definitely a great answer. Also, believe it or not, there are a lot of people that go in with, I've got to compete, I've got to be the best. You're going to hear me say a lot. This is what has helped me through my time as a surgical tech. The only person you're competing against is yourself. You're trying to get yourself better. You're not worried about what John and Sally and they are doing, right? Because their job is to also improve themselves. And at the end of the day, we're all coming together for the patient. See how communication can kind of, especially if someone doesn't even know that they're like, oh, thinking that you got everything and they don't know what you're doing behind closed doors, right? So, excellent answers, y'all. There are stressors in our environment. Sometimes we are dealing with really hard cases. I don't know if I've shared yet. Um, I was doing palliative care on a 5 month old. My little one was 4 month old. And palliative care is we know that the patient is not going to make it, right? We know, and what we're just trying to do is give the family more time. So that's stressful. There was a case that I was doing, and this is not to scare you, it happens. And you get to the point where you're like, we're a team. I had my doctor, we were doing another cranie. He whispered in my ear, we've got 7 minutes to get into this kid's head, or they're not going to make it. Took a deep breath, and I was like, I'm with you, doc. And we started moving. He was transparent with me. He was confident in his team, and we were able to get into the cranium of the kid and do what we needed to do. Okay. That's stressful. Um, if you or your team cannot resolve an issue, right, in the operating room, we have to think about what can we do next. We're going to refer the issue to management, right? Because at that point, maybe, unfortunately, everybody needs a cooling off period because now patients are in jeopardy. Each person in the surgical arena must make an effort to communicate effectively and assertively because, again, at the end of the day, it's about the patient. Now, one thing that we will not tolerate is verbal abuse. You are important. Never let anyone steal your joy. If you ever feel like someone's coming and they're just beating you down, speak up. Let us know. I'm talking about vulgar remarks directed at you, staff, violent public criticism. The chapter also talks about loud, abrasive comments, or, they're just demanding you, and you're like, okay, comments meant to embarrass or hurt someone, especially when it comes to sexual remarks, right? We're not having any of that. Verbal abuse involves using words to really just overpower and demean somebody, devaluing their worth. And I'm telling you all right now, you are worth it. Never allow anyone to steal your joy. I do not care who it is. It can also be accompanied by violent behavior, creating a harmful work environment. In our field, maintaining a respectful and professional atmosphere is essential for patient care and team cohesiveness. Now, complaining can be either legitimate, where you are addressing real issues, or it can be chronic, where it's persistently negative without any solutions. So, you do not want to become that complainer. You want to focus on solutions, not just the problems. You want to maintain a positive outlet. Why am I saying this? Well, there's going to be times in the operating room where there is an issue that comes up and we're as a team trying to figure it out. What instrument can we use? Nothing's working. The instrument that was supposed to be ready for some reason is malfunctioning, and you're trying to figure out, okay, you're almost like a MacGyver. You're looking at the instruments, you're looking at the doctor, you're looking at the case, and you come together to kind of figure it out. You listen. People just need to feel heard sometimes. So listening can really just kind of diffuse tension. There have been many a times, and I'm going to be completely transparent, where I was in the lab with a student and I let them express themselves. They weren't disrespectful, but they needed to be heard. And so I was able to say, hey, I hear you. Now let me explain to you how this really works. Okay. Address the complaint directly, constructively. Focus on really trying to find some type of solution. Now, if the complaining becomes toxic or constant, distance yourself to avoid getting drawn into that negativity. Happy employees generally don't complain. Unhappy ones often do. So, addressing complaints in a positive way can maintain a healthy work environment. And that's not just for the operating room, that's for pretty much every aspect. When we address issues, you criticize the behavior, not the person. You focus on the specific actions that need improvement rather than attacking someone's character. Now, this is tough, especially when you have to go relieve someone in the operating room and you're just like, oh my goodness, their setup is completely different from mine, right? But what do? Okay, you're taking over the case, it's going to be yours. You promote constructive feedback. That's going to allow the individual to understand what went wrong and how to fix it. But stay respectful. We in teamwork, there's going to be some type of criticism because everyone does things slightly different. As long as they're not demeaning you or trying to break you down, or you're going to hear me say that word again, steal your joy, take it as, okay, thank you, lessons learned, let's keep moving. And then gossip and rumors. We think about when, or how should I say this? Okay. How would you react to a rumor you heard about yourself? Like, you're just like, whoa. Do you get angry? Do you just be like, okay, I'm not even going to tolerate it? And this is a rhetorical question. This isn't for, you don't have to respond, just to kind of think about it. Like, how would you react to a rumor about yourself? The chapter also talks about group think. When the group sets high standards, group think is a positive force. But let's say when aseptic technique and other practices slides, the people in the group may be the only ones trying to kind of uphold the standards. It's a negative force when it does not allow freedom of speech. So let's say someone is, this is the only way you can do it. Okay, I want your knife to be upside down on your head. But we know that's not right, right? But they're like, this is how it has to be. That's going to be negative. And you should be able to speak up and say, hey, not only is that against aseptic technique, but yada, 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 yada. And this one's big. Sexual harassment is severe. It's abuse. It's abuse of power and should never be tolerated. Okay. It undermines trust. It creates a toxic environment and it violates basic professional and ethical standards. The chapter talks about preventing it, right? It's crucial to just invest in self-study and programs. And each year when you are in your hospital, your surgery center, you're going to have training annually. Okay. The knowledge just helps foster respect and sensitivity, creating more inclusive and supportive work environments. Resources like the one in box 2.4 that I grabbed from the chapter just provides valuable guidance for understanding and navigating cultural differences, which is so important for promoting respectful behavior and preventing harassment. All right, so we got the tough stuff out of the way. Let's get into teamwork because in the operating room, we're a team. We look at good teamwork. It is the result of healthy relationships within a team. A group does not have to have a common goal, but the people in the group share common professions, tasks, requirements, or other characteristics. The other thing that I want you guys to know is that teams are not made overnight. Here we have a little snippet of the Lord of the Rings, and there is like one curse word, you guys, so I apologize from the beginning, but you're about to be surgical tech, so you're going to hear and see a lot of different things. But this really does break down teamwork and how it starts in every aspect. So sit back and enjoy.
Strangers from distant lands, friends of old, you've been summoned here to answer the threat of Mordor. Middle-earth stands upon the brink of destruction. None can escape it. You will unite, or you will fall. Each race is bound to this fate, this one doom.
Bring forth the ring, Frodo.
It must be taken deep into Mordor and cast back into the fiery chasm from whence it came. One of you must do this.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
Have you heard nothing Lord Elrond has said? The ring must be destroyed.
And I suppose you think you're the one to do it!
And if we fail, what then? What happens when Sauron takes back what is his?
I will be dead before I see the ring in the hands of an elf! No one trusts an elf! Do you not understand? Necromancers! Sauron's power! None will escape it! You'll already
I will take the ring to Mordor. Though I do not know the way.
I will help you bear this burden, Frodo Baggins, as long as it is yours to bear.
If by my life or death I can protect you, I will. You have my sword.
And you have my bow.
And my axe.
Carry the face of us all, little one. If this is indeed the will of the Council, then Gondor will see it done.
Hurry! Frodo and Sam have reached the eastern shore. You mean not to follow them?
Frodo's fate is no longer in our hands.
Then it has all been in vain. The Fellowship has failed.
What if we hold true to each other? We will not abandon Merry and Pippin to torment and death. Not while we have strength left.
Leave all that can be spared behind.
We travel light
Let us hunt some orc.
All right. So putting it into the operating room theater. Okay. In the morning, you get assigned your room. Okay. The team is coming together. You're forming your team. Most likely, especially if you've been working at the facility for a while, everybody kind of knows each other, but you're still kind of figuring out, okay, who's my surgeon today? Okay, that's my surgeon, that's my anesthesiologist, who's my circulator. And in the operating room, we're doing our timeout. We still introduce ourselves to each other, even though we have probably done tons of cases together. Then we start looking, we learn our personalities, we learn different styles. Communication can lead to conflict. We know that. In the surgical setting, this could be a disagreement about the best approach to procedure. You may be sitting back and you have two attending surgeons and you're watching this happen in real time. Or there may be miscommunication about certain tasks. That way, we know it's important to manage conflicts professionally and keep the patient safety the top priority. We're going through the case, it's going smoothly. We start to understand each other's strengths, weaknesses, and the communication becomes more efficient. We, as a scrub tech, for example, know what instruments the surgeon prefers, and the entire team works in sync. Some of my best cases have been silent cases where me and the doctor may be talking about something completely opposite of the surgical case, and the case is moving like a fine oiled machine. We're not talking about the instruments or what he needs next because we've learned each other. We're performing. We are working at the highest efficiency. Each member knows their role seamlessly. Our circulators giving us our sutures, putting up our irrigation without us even having to mention it. Anesthesia knows when to start bringing the patient, starting to wake the patient up a little bit because they see we're about to close. We're getting ready to start our instrument count, our small count, without even kind of, I'm ready, and you just start counting. Like the team is just moving together. It's like a beautiful dance. After the procedure is completed, the team disbands, right? This is when sometimes we reflect on the surgery, especially if it's been a tough one. We discuss what went well, and then we consider what could have been improved next time. And a lot of times this happens on those tough cases. This phase is also going to be reviewing the case, cleaning our instruments, and preparing for the next procedure. It's really important for us to understand these phases because it does help us as surgical techs navigate the team dynamics, handle conflicts professionally, and then contribute to collaborative and efficient surgical environment. Now, how can effective communication improve team dynamics in the surgical environment? Well, I kind of talked about it, right? You have a patient on the table. We all know each other's roles. We're anticipating. Let's say you're in a case, okay? And you're doing an ACL repair, anterior cruciate ligament repair, right? And you know the steps. You and the surgeon have worked together. And you see that something on the field is not right. And then you know automatically that he's going to have to go back a couple steps. So while he's kind of thinking about, oh, what do I do next? You're back in the field preparing his drill bit, preparing his whatever he needs, right? And when he starts to ask, hey, you already have it ready to go. I'm telling you, that's going to be the best feeling. It's going to happen to y'all when you start learning and anticipating your surgeon. It doesn't even matter if things don't go completely right because you know not just the steps, but you know what needs to happen. So I kind of want you guys to think about that and get excited because you're going to be there. The chapter also talks about computers and how they're used in the preoperative environment. This is the last part of the chapter where we're going to be identifying physical components of a computer. For the most part, we kind of already know we're on computers right now. And discuss how computer networks and the internet are used in a professional medical setting. In our world, computers do play a crucial role in enhancing efficiency, accuracy, and of course, patient care. We have patient charts and records. They're digital. We have a lot of hybrids. Okay, so just keep in mind where we do have a lot of paper and a lot of computer use in the operating room. But we're recording the history. We're looking at their allergies. We're pulling up their lab results in real time. If you are doing some general cases and you're looking at cholangiograms, you may want to pull up their gallbladder x-rays. If you are doing orthopedics or even neuro, they're going to have up those x-rays real time pulled up in the operating room on computer screens. We have our preference cards for surgeons, and the preference card is just kind of like the surgeon's grocery list. It tells us what they want, their specific instruments, surgical techniques, and other preferences, where that also helps just streamline how the procedure will go. I already mentioned the x-rays, real-time access that we utilize in surgery. We also have computer assisted navigation systems that will help surgeons during complex procedures like when we're doing the brain lab. A lot of times in ENT, we'll have the brain lab because we're going through their sinuses and we do not want to puncture and go into that dura, right? So we'll have the brain lab, which is just electrodes that are sterile that we pull up and we have a screen and it kind of just guides us so that we stay pretty much in the sinus cavities. We also track our supplies. Computers can track everything from surgical instruments, sterile supplies, our implants, and that just ensures that they are available when we need them. And then they are maintained because we have inventory. It is so important for us just to understand the roles of computers, believe it or not, because they are constantly advancing. It's so important to stay current with modern operating room technology, i.e. robot, the ROSA, different types of digital accessories so that we are ensuring efficient and safe surgical practices. And then we look at the internet, including the World Wide Web, where research is performed through different search engines. Google, Safari, Internet Explorer, Chrome. Okay. Some of the examples of where we can go is CDC, American Medication Association, AMA, Mayo Clinic. We will be looking at the AST a lot and NBSTNA as we gear up for our national certification. And it'll be here before you know it. Trust and believe. Now, this particular part is extremely important to me. Email has greatly transformed how people communicate across the globe, right? That includes healthcare and, of course, us in the surgery. Email is often used for communicating with our colleagues. You'll get tons of emails letting you know what is due, your HIPAA, everything that needs to be completed, coordinating your schedule, and sharing patient information securely if you need to know that information. Now, netiquette refers to the set of guidelines for respectful, professional, and secure online communication. We understand applying netiquette being important, especially when handling these patients' information or coordinating with team members. You may become the lead tech. So you're going to be communicating with Department of the DON, the Department of Nursing Program Director, Surgical Program Director, vendors. You're going to be sharing certain patient information pertaining to surgical cases. Now, the key principles include personnel security. You need to have a strong password. You don't want to be that individual that has their computer taken and then you are fined up to $750,000 for a breach in HIPAA. Trust me, I've taught in the bachelor's program where we talked about a case where someone had the computer, they had their car stolen. No one expects that, but then they were also fined. So the car was stolen and then they were fined $750,000. Okay. We look at respect, always maintaining professional tone. Even in challenging situations, I get it. Sometimes we get frustrated, but you want to avoid using slang. You guys do not use all caps. It can just make someone think that you're shouting at them. And you don't want to use informal language. Clarity, be clear, be concise, especially in your emails. Double check for errors. This is going to help prevent any type of misunderstanding and ensure that there's efficient communication, especially in our fast paced environment. And then the key is to just adopt good etiquette. That's going to ensure that the digital communication is going to remain safe, respectful, and effective. Have a example before we get out of here. You have in a professional setting, especially in healthcare, right? You just want to make sure that you're including a subject. Always provide a clear and relevant subject line to make it easier for the recipient to understand the purpose of the email at a glance. Use a greeting. Hello. I hope this email finds you well. You're just being polite, okay? Maintain a professional tone. I feel like it's good just to be business, right? You're not putting your emotions in it. You're just, this is black, this and white. This is what it is. If you're going to forward something, try to ask for their permission. Is it okay if I forward this too? And if you guys send me something that, let's say the PD needs to know, I am always going to ask you, is it okay if I share? Is it okay that I share this particular information, or what are you comfortable with me sharing? That's just something that I feel is important. So I will always do that. Always, always again, look when you're talking about more than one recipient. Instead of adding multiple recipients individually, you can create an email group, but let everyone know this is a group email, okay? You don't want to have a huge, large document. Sometimes you need to compress it and avoid unnecessary attachments. So you're going to only attach files that are relevant. Never use aggressive or hostile language in emails. No matter how frustrated you may get, have a cooling off period. Take a deep breath, walk around, and then come back. And then take your time for spell check. I tend to use Grammarly just because I'm not the best speller. So I always try to check my grammar really quick, check my spelling. This is especially important since SMSs or messaging shortcuts are not appropriate in the workplace. Yeah, they're cool for our cell phones and our text messages and Messenger, but when you're sending something professional, not everyone will understand it, and some may even feel a little bit offended by it. Include your name and contact information. And then for formal communication is really important in the workplace because you're going to set that standard, right? You're going to be the lead tech, let's say for neuro. And you're going to be that individual that has to communicate with the charge nurse, with the program directors, with the lead surgeon for whatever reason. So you want to kind of have that professionalism where there's clear communication and it can directly impact the patient care. Having a role model or a guide is also a good practice. So what did we cover today? Well, we looked at different elements of communication. We looked at body language. We looked at qualities of good communication. We watched a quick video on just how the team is formed, and then talked about how it relates to us in the operating room. We even touched on computers and email netiquette. For those of you that are watching this playback, what are some challenges you foresee in fostering teamwork in surgical settings? How might you overcome it? And describe a situation where poor communication led to negative outcomes in a team. We are here at week 2. What questions do you have for me?
I just wanted to ask in regards to the exercises. Um, because I think one of them is just they're not like multiple choice, more so you kind of have to like put in your own answer. The majority of like those questions, it's everything is information that's coming from the chapter, right?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
cool.
And when I give you guys your feedback, I tend to go to the chapter, find it, and I'll put that into your feedback so you'll know, hey, this is, straight from the book.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to confirm that because it was a little bit confusing last week, but like now I know.
Good question. And you guys keep asking me questions like that because we're going to get through this together. So,
Well,
is
actually, I have another question.
mhm.
The CST preparation that we have every week, are those like questions related to um like some sort of exam that we're going to take in the future, or is it
Yes.
regarding this course
I,
only?
I love I love that question. So your CST preparation questions, these are questions that you will see for your certification exam.
Okay, okay.
So we're kind of like preparing you sooner so that you can kind of see how the book asks questions. You're going to see how the field works, and then you're going to see the expectation on how to pass that certification. So, great question.
Okay, cool. See.
HIPAA training is due before the end of the module. So I just send reminders just so I don't forget. I will be sending you reminders at week 4, usually on announcements. Week 6, I'll put it on announcements. Week 6, if you hadn't done it, I would probably send you like a Moodle message. And then week 10, I'll just remind you again, hey, don't forget to complete your HIPAA training. The module's almost coming to an end. Great question.
We'd be working on that every week, like we are on this class.
Oh,
Like,
no. It's just the two. So your the HIPAA and OSHA training, you're gonna get yearly once you get to your um work,
like future
right?
jobs, yeah.
Yeah, your future jobs. So we just have you. You don't do it each week. It's just you do it, you're done. Some
Right.
of your classmates have done it and they're done, so they don't have to. They can kind of like, whew. And it's not no pressure, but just keep that on the back your back table that you want to make sure you get it completed before the end of the module.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, if it says that, I will check it. How would you suggest we test? Okay, so for the CST, great question. Um, there are a couple of different ways to test. So I went, and I have my books. I'm sorry, I'm speaking away from my microphone. What I did is I have a couple of books that I'm going to be sharing with you guys: Surgical Technologist Certifying Exam and your Surgical Technology Principles and Practices, as well as a couple of other things that I use to help me study. Um, One of my former students just texted me yesterday or last week. She had just passed her certification. So I'm like grabbing different things that they've done too, and I'm going to have that all set up for y'all so that once y'all get to module 7, y'all are going to be on the right track for your certification. So just bear with me, and I have a couple things that we're going to be getting for y'all. So if you don't see it within the next week, just remind me, hey, do you still have that information you're gathering? So that you guys will be ready for your certification exam. Any other questions? It says also HIPAA, hold on. Closed notebook didn't specify in the assignments. So you should be able to, because you're taking the OSHA's coming straight from that particular module. Um, there is no specific assignments. If you go in, they have kind of like anybody who's ever done an online HIPAA course, you know how they have that little in the beginning, you have different things that you kind of look at, and then you take the exam. So that's how that would work. But I will definitely make sure because it should not be closed. I didn't get a specific date, and if that's the case, you will be good. If you guys know what I mean. So I'll make sure that you guys are good to go, so that you have time in the module. Great questions. All right. I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. If you guys do need me for anything, y'all, please just reach out. Let me know. I look forward to seeing everyone who can attend for our microbiology. Have some cool things that we're going to do, some different games to kind of break it down and make it make sense for us as surgical technologists. On that note, you guys, good night. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, I have one more question.
Yes, of course.
The Quizlet you sent us. Well, I just have a question for like the midterm and final purposes.
Hmm.
So, how you send us like the Quizlet and our quizzes, are that's going to be the same questions on the midterm and final?
I will be going through your midterm and your final and looking at the questions specifically because I don't want to say yes or no yet, but I will be looking at the questions specifically and creating your Quizlets based on information that I see. That way, you guys will be on the right path. Does that
Okay,
make
so
sense?
like a study guide.
Yes, you'll be able to study. Yes, you'll definitely be able
Oh,
to study.
great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Good night, everybody.